Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 10 of the anime series, Akuma no Riddle. And this was an off-the-wall, absolutely from beginning to end, crazy episode. I mean, shades of James Bond and Terminator. Essentially, Hanabusa is the last girl remaining in Class Black that's going to be trying to make a move against Haru, and, Takaku, of course, will be trying to protect Haru amidst all of this for some purpose. Basically, the death of Haru will ring to the successor, a wish of some type, and essentially we find out that Hanabusa is going to go about this very intriguing way. Her syndicate, or clan, or whatever you want to call it, has purchased the entire top floor of their school, their academy, and reconfigured the whole thing, redecked out the entire floor with these steel-lined walls, and there's bullet glass, a partition that comes down from, the ceiling in the middle of the room that comes into play and everything. And she's doing this under the guise of having a tea party that essentially Haru is, invited to, but Takaku will be in tow naturally. And when they show up to this, they are welcomed by what at first appears to be the entirety of all the girls who have been, taken out of Class Black, who failed their mission in trying to kill Haru, but in fact, they're all robotic duplicates, with the exception of Takechi, who actually seemed to have gotten out of like a prison hold or something like that. She managed to escape, and she shows up on the scene, and of course Hanabusa decides to take her, actually physically, and bring her and make her part of this tea party. We see that when Takechi goes to stab at Hanabusa, the blade basically is smashed by her hand, and this rings almost like, is she what, Superman? Is she Supergirl or something? She has, invulnerability or what have you. And as the episode unfolds, and, the first barrage, if you will, is all of these robots attacking Takaku, trying to make it so that Haru is left, basically off to the side for Hanabusa to be able to go after herself. We find out, though, as the glass partition finally does come down and Takaku manages to keep Hanabusa on her side of it, keeping safe Haru for the moment, that Hanabusa is actually a cyborg. And kind of like the Bionic Woman, they, replaced her arms and her legs and everything, so she's got robotic limbs and all this stuff, and she's able to do fantastical, super normal feats with this, which, you think that Takaku's going to have her ass handed to her, and she effectively does. She does put up a good fight. Of course, there's a lot of cat and mouse chase going on, because Takaku knows she's outnumbered with just the physical ability of Hanabusa at this point. Takechi eventually, she's in a straitjacket from Hanabusa's design, and she ends up, knife falls and she cuts herself free, and she tries to get involved as well. It's actually integral to her activity in the battle that the blade gets put in Hanabusa's arm, and they sort of short-circuit it a little bit, and she eventually kind of reconfigures it with another, a weapon hand or what have you that she replaces it with. But this gives us the sign that, hey, we have a way we can beat her. And of course, once Takaku is kind of taken out for the count, it's very interesting to me that she fires down this chandelier. It's this heavy cast iron chandelier, and it crushes Hanabusa, but of course, because of her supernormal powers, she lifts this thing off, throws it at Takaku, and that's what knocks Takaku out. And here we're really seeing the pacing of Haru, again, as we saw in the last couple episodes, kind of taking up the reins of control. Instead of just, shivering off in the corner, scared out of her mind, she's actually trying to run. She's actually trying to be creative in the way she's going to retaliate, and it just spectacularly amounts to, she grabs like an RPG, she blows up the wall with the door. She ends up leading Hanabusa on a merry chase where she thinks she's gone into an elevator that's slowly descending the long, tall building, and Hanabusa jumps on top of it. But as soon as she realizes, no, actually, Haru's still up there, Haru has gone to grab a bunch of grenades, throws them all down with their pins pulled, explodes, right on top of Hanabusa, doesn't kill her, but severely injures her mechanisms and everything like that. She's still very much alive, though, and they chase each other outside on the top of this gigantic skyscraper building, where essentially, Haru shows she's very clever. She's a strategist, even though maybe she's not even aware of it, or maybe she is, and she's just kept it in hiding. She waits for Hanabusa to fire out this sort of grappling hook effect from her hand, which wraps itself around the guard railing at the the edge of this building, and essentially Haru runs up to Hanabusa and starts grabbing her, dragging her toward the edge, eventually throws her over the side, but she goes falling with her, and then as she climbs up, sort of dangling there, she starts kicking at Hanabusa's robotic arm to loosen it, and this sends, Hanabusa crashing to her penultimate doom. I can only assume she's dead at the end of this, but who knows? Because of those cybernetic body parts and everything like that, she may have survived just barely. And of course, then we have the sort of coming back together of Haru and Takaku, and the question that's being thrown around, and it's the one going through my head throughout this entire episode, and ever since we first heard mention of it, this, trying to make someone become the queen bee, whatever that means. We hear a lot of that in this episode. Hanabusa wants to become the most powerful assassin or what have you, and she wants to be, in effect, the air quotes, queen bee, but it seems that all this is to dethrone Haru, who may or may not be currently the queen bee, and Takaku asks her point blank, what does that mean? Very interestingly, we know now that Haru has something to hide. She's not giving us the full picture because she says, I can't tell you now, but I'll tell you when the time is right. And the question is, when is the time going to be right? What exactly are the steps as we move forward? I mean, all of the assassins in Class Black have now been basically taken out of the picture, with the exception of Takechi, who was there, but Neo basically caught up with her and very ominously, seemed to scare the hell out of Takechi. So there's obviously more going on with Neo as well. But I mean, was all of this trying to kill Haru, a way of testing her abilities? Maybe because Takaku got in the way of that, she hasn't had to do anything. And, as we enter the finale of this series, maybe we're going to find that Takaku has really gotten it wrong, her impressions of this seemingly timid and weakling that is Haru. So it's very intriguing to me how we've left off this just brain-bustingly crazy episode with robots and highfalutin cyborgs and all that kind of stuff. And I just can't wait to see where we go from here. So yeah, otherwise that'll be pretty much it for me on this. I hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.